Hey everyone, so we are going to do some value drawing today using your black paper from your Beep and Greet bag. If you need some black paper, I'm happy to set some out for you. Just let me know on Seesaw by messaging me and I can set some out for you. But you guys know that you can buy construction paper. If you don't want to, that's really fine. I've got plenty of this stuff. I'd love to set it out for you if you need it. And then you'll also be needing some chalk. So I either gave you some white chalk or I gave you a piece of colored chalk. It does not matter which one you use. But remember, when we're drawing with chalk, when you draw and you rub your hand over it, it's gonna smear. And that actually didn't, oh my goodness. This white chalk might not smudge as much, which is great, but normally it smears, right? So just be really careful when you're drawing today. So I'm gonna let you choose. I'm gonna put some pictures on a slide for you and I'm gonna let you choose which one to draw. And what you're going to be doing is you want to draw where you see the light values, okay? So I'm actually gonna use white. And you wanna be drawing the light values because your paper is dark, right? So normally when we draw, we have a white piece of paper and we would shade in the shadows. Today we're gonna flip it and we're going to be drawing on black paper. So we're gonna be drawing the light values, the light that we see, okay? So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to look for where I see the light values, okay? So on this jack-o'-lantern picture, my light values are actually like kind of where the pumpkin creases are, and obviously the face. So you can put a few guidelines on your paper to start. So this pumpkin is definitely not a circle, he is an oval. So I'm gonna put a really light oval on my paper. And if it's not perfect, does that matter? Nope. Just try your best. All right, now I'm gonna look at where I see the lightest value, and that is right about there. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw his mouth. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna use my power of observation, and I'm gonna look at where his mouth zigzag goes up and where it goes down. So it starts all the way over here at the very edge, and it goes up, and then it's kind of like a little flat. And I'm noticing that this zigzag isn't just straight up and down zigzag. It's got some curves in it. All right, so there is my jack-o'-lantern mouth. Now I'm noticing that I can like see the candle in his mouth right about there. So I'm going to add the light right there. And it's really, really, really bright. Now the rest of the mouth isn't as bright, so I'm only going to lightly add in some lighter value. And I'm noticing like over here, there's some darker pumpkin hanging down. It looks like maybe that part wasn't carved all the way out. So I'm gonna add the lighter value toward the bottom of this last zigzag part, but then I'm gonna leave this other part a little bit darker. And if you'd like to kind of smooth everything out, you can use your finger really carefully to kind of rub and smooth your chalk. But remember, it's gonna smear. So if you don't want it to smear onto another part of your pumpkin, be really careful about where you're smearing that chalk to. All right, so now I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna add a little bit more light value to my jack-o'-lantern's mouth. Because after I smoothed it out, I realized it got kind of dark. So when you're drawing from observation, meaning that you're looking at something while you're drawing, it's really important to kind of look here and then look back at your reference. Look at what you drew, then look back at your reference and make adjustments as you go. Now, the next part I think I'm going to draw are the eyes, because I think that's where I see a lot of other light value. So I'm going to draw like where the small circle is, like where that light is shining through the jack-o'-lantern a ton. I'm going to go ahead and draw those circles. And they're pretty white. They're not as white as where we can see like the candle showing through. So maybe I'll kind of smudge it with my finger so it doesn't appear as bright. And this side looks a little bit less perfect as a circle, so maybe I'll try to make it a little bit less perfect. Kind of smudge here. I'm gonna wipe some of that chalk off on my finger, or on my hand that's on my finger. Okay, now I'm gonna draw that outside part of the eye. All right, so I think my eyes are looking pretty good. It's really light in the middle, just like here. And then it gets a little bit darker out here. And notice I'm not coloring in my pumpkin, right? Remember, we're drawing where we see the light parts. So now the next part I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw where I see light coming through those creases on my pumpkin. So maybe I should draw the top part first, like where the top is cut out. So I'm noticing that I can see the back part of the cutout top. So I'm gonna draw those bumps. And this is probably gonna be the hardest part for me. I'm gonna smooth that out. There we go. And then I noticed like there are a couple of like lines. So I'm gonna draw those. Now I'm gonna draw these lines for my pumpkin, I think. I think that's a good next step. So when I'm drawing these lines, they're not a very, very, very light value, but they are lighter than my black paper. So I'm not gonna press super hard. I don't want it to be completely white. Then maybe I'll use my finger to kind of blend. Now, I need to add some more light values toward the bottom here because my pumpkin isn't black, but my drawing certainly looks that way, doesn't it? So I'm gonna add some highlights, because this isn't shadows, right? We're adding where it's light. So I'm gonna add some highlights here and here and here. I'm not pressing very hard at all. Then I'm gonna blend with my finger. But there is quite a few areas on this pumpkin where it's really dark, like right here. So I've left that part of my jack-o'-lantern drawing really dark. And I tried to leave this guy a little bit dark because that appears dark too. And once you're done, you can kind of go back and add any little pops or highlights where you think, oh, I think the chalk rubbed off a little bit. So I'm thinking like in here for me, some of the chalk when I blended kind of rubbed off. So I'm gonna go through here and just kind of fix any mistakes that I've made. And then once you love how your drawing turned out, then I would love to see what you've made. Make sure that when you take the picture that you hold your artwork really still and close enough to the camera that I can see what it is, because I can only grade what I can see, okay? So I can't wait to see which images you pick to draw and how much fun you get to have with this chalk. Have fun!